Oh, hello.
Hello, amazing. We're just about to start a food fight here.
Amazing food fight. A super food fight, we
Super
call
food
this.
fight. Exactly. Yeah, the last time we went, we were always superfood fighting. We were exploring the forest, doing some foraging, doing some smoke sauna, swimming in the sea. What have we been up to after that?
Oh my gosh. The last time we were in Finland, we went wild foraging. That was where I met you.
Yep.
Sipping this strange bottle of green gooey liquid that I thought was a little funky looking until I actually got a chance to try it. But yeah, we spent like 3 hours out in the forest harvesting nettles and mint and gosh, what else did we find out there? We were all sorts of things for dinner.
Yeah. Some mushrooms as well.
Oh yeah, mushrooms. Unmagical mushrooms, the kind you can actually eat with good conscience, maintaining all of your faculties. And then we went to the smoke sauna and we swam in the Baltic Sea.
We did.
A little taste, harvested chaga off of the trees.
Yeah.
And everything.
And boiled it into a tea. Yeah. That was
Amazing.
That was definitely amazing.
Yeah.
And like you're always up to something awesome when we meet. Right now we're meeting here in London.
Yeah.
So what are you currently working on? What are you especially excited about right now?
Oh gosh.
Must be a lot of things, of course, but
Yeah, I would say probably if I could choose my top three. Right now, I am learning to play the ukulele, and that's been an adventure. Ton of fun. Music is so good for your mind. I'm all about spinning neurons and figuring out new ways to build blood flow to the brain. I've been writing in my work of fiction called The Forest, and in that book I'm actually working in a lot of these ancestor living, wild plant foraging, superfood type of concepts along with fantasy like swordsmanship and dragons and wizards, and I love to write, and I especially love to write fantasy.
cool.
So that, and probably, gosh, I feel like I should throw something businessy in there, but
Not necessarily.
honestly, the last thing I've been doing is honing my bow hunting skills, specifically for wild turkey, a new animal I'm learning to hunt. So I live out in the forest where there's plenty of wild animals, from deer to coyote to mountain lion to turkey, and turkey is one that I haven't quite learned to hunt yet. So that's a new skill I'm slowly developing.
Amazing.
Yeah, hopefully in time for Thanksgiving over in America.
Exactly. You have something to put on the table for the wife and kids.
Otherwise we'll starve. Yeah.
Exactly. What does living life to the fullest mean to you?
Living life to the fullest, I think a lot of people conjures up an image of doing something like completing a marathon, or doing some kind of an Ironman triathlon, or competing in the CrossFit games, or doing something that perhaps is physically daunting. I don't think that's the case. I think that living life to the fullest involves taking whatever is the edgiest, most bold, daring, and courageous version of you and plugging that into whatever you're passionate about in life. Maybe that's gardening. Maybe that's hunting. Maybe it is competing in a triathlon. Maybe it's attempting to deadlift 600 pounds. Maybe it's flying an airplane, right? But whatever it is that you're passionate about, that also slightly scares you, that brings you to that edge. In my opinion, if you're not living just a little bit scared every now and again, you're not living life to the fullest. And so, no, it doesn't necessarily mean going out and doing amazing feats of physical performance, but it does mean living bold.
Yeah, I can totally share that view. Kind of following your fear in a way, and kind of pushing that limit.
Right. Fear is interesting. It actually builds new brain neurons when you are engaged in things that make you uncomfortable, that make your head hurt, or that make, in some cases, your body hurt, or your muscles hurt, or lactic acid be produced. I mean, the idea is fear and being scared. It's not a bad thing. It helps us to grow.
It's an essential part of our humanity, for sure.
It is, and it's a part of humanity that not enough people tap into in our comfortable world that's like the cartoon Wall-E, where people are going around the cruise ship or whatever it is, the spaceship in Wall-E on their giant wheelchairs. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
They're obese, they have a milkshake, and they push the button and more milkshakes come. That's the way people live, and it's sad that a lot of people don't tap into that optimized life.
Exactly. On that topic, though, how do you balance mastering performance with living at the moment and enjoying life?
You know, a big part of it is looking at the world through the lens of not just performance, but also health and longevity, right? Like it's a trilogy. So if you look at any given thing that's going to help you to perform better, let's say carbohydrates, right? Like if we look at what is marketed as modern exercise science nutrition, right? We see power bars, we see Gatorade, we see primarily maltodextrin, fructose, etc. And don't get me wrong, that works, right? It's been proven by the Gatorade Sports Science Institute that that stuff makes you fast. It also produces advanced glycation end products, free radicals, oxidation, connective tissue damage. And there are a lot of sacrifices that you make as you constantly spike your blood glucose levels or consume the type of carbohydrates that aren't nutrient dense,
True.
right? So when I look at something and I say, is this gonna help me stay on the cutting edge of performance? I don't just ask, is it gonna make me faster? Is it gonna help me lift more weights? Is it gonna help me crawl under barbed wire faster in an obstacle race, right? It's more about, is this not only gonna do that, but is it gonna make me healthy? And is it gonna help me be around to play backyard football with my kids when I'm 80 and not need a knee or hip replacement because I've created a lot of cartilaginous damage from oxidation? So I think that living life to the fullest and optimizing performance comes down to looking at life through that lens.
Makes sense. So what are your principles when it comes to food and your diet?
I love food.
That's a great principle. So do
I do not adhere to a diet, period. I will probably never write a diet book. If I ever write a diet book, I'm going to be completely honest with you. It would be to make money because that's why people write diet books. You write your diet book so that people follow your diet, and that is how you make money. You get people on board with your diet. You sell them the supplements on the back end that support that diet. But the idea is that there is no one diet that fits everyone. You have to we live in a day and age where you can get a salivary analysis and you can look at your DNA and what type of diet your ancestors ate and also what type of genetic SNPs that you have that are going to help you metabolize carbohydrate, protein, and fat in a specific way, such as how much salivary amylase you produce or how much
like through
insulin your pancreas
23andMe,
releases.
for example, or
Exactly.
the types of S&P tests.
Something like that. You can get a micronutrient or macronutrient testing and you can see what you're deficient in. Am I deficient in vitamin D? Do I need to consume more things like, mushrooms or cod liver oil or whatever that's going to contain vitamin D? Am I deficient in magnesium? Do I need to eat more mineral-rich plants? What does my diet look like? And then what are my activity levels, right? Am I relatively sedentary, working at a computer most of the day, not burning through a lot of glycogen, and able to subsist pretty well on 10% carbohydrate intake? If so, great. That's your macronutrient ratio for carbs, right? So you look at every person individually. So my take on diet is you first look at your individual needs, and then you fill in those individual needs using real food. Real food in either its recognizable form or else real food that has been distilled into something that allows you to consume it. Because let's face it, when I am on an airplane, right, like you and I are in London right now.
Yep.
Before that, I was in San Francisco. I'm going to Austin after this. I'm all over the place all the time. I can't necessarily go pick a head of kale out from my garden when I'm on an airplane. And so real food comes in different forms. In that case, I might have some kind of a powdered kale or some kind of like a bar or a superfood or something that has my greens in it, but that's still real food, right? And I'll look at the label and I'll make sure that it doesn't have things like, added high fructose corn syrup and tons of soy lecithin and all these things that get added as preservatives to food.
So during a preparation for a race, for example, for a gruesome OCR, for 48-hour pursuit, what does your typical meal plan look like when you're traveling and when you're preparing for that?
Yeah, so typically in the days leading up to an event, my gut is not prepared to digest complex foods. So I primarily do powders, juices, smoothies, anything that is in more of like a blended or a very easy to digest format. I find that to be a very good strategy, especially when I'm 2 to 3 days out from an event. And then during, it depends, right? Like if we're talking about a super duper fast race, Primarily, I'm just taking water and I'm throwing some amino acids and maybe some electrolytes in there, and boom, I'm off. Because that's all you need, right? Like it's just fast, boom, over. You're burning through your own muscle and your liver glycogen stores. I did a race in Vermont at 38 degrees below zero. That was a 50-hour race where you had to carry your own food, and in a case like that, you can't just do a bottle of water, which by the way will freeze unless you keep it in your armpit or down by your crotch, upside down.
Stuff it in your boxers just to keep it frozen.
Exactly. So in a case like that, I'll take superfoods. I'll use either bars or powders, something like this where we've got spinach and almonds and blueberries and stuff like this in front of us. For example, in that race, I would take a packet of Ambronite, and all I did was I would find water. And I again, keep my water bottle upside down so I get water. I dump it in there. I have a little plastic spoon in my bag, and I'll just eat one of those every 2 to 3 hours. So I know exactly what I'm getting, right? Like the math is easy. I get my 500 calories. I know that I'm getting all of the little super nutrients that my body needs to be able to go for day after day, but it's easy to digest. And for me personally, I don't really have to deal that much with flavor fatigue. I just don't. I go into robot mode, and if I'll eat the same thing for days and days and days if I have to during a long race. And the other thing is, in the case of something like Ambronite, it tastes good anyways. So for me, it's easy. I actually look forward to the fueling stations, and the way I do it is I mix it super thick so I can eat it with a spoon, and then I put something in it that I can munch on. Like I'll throw some almonds in there, or I'll throw cacao nibs, or another one that I like.
Delicious.
If it is something where I need to keep my stomach settled, another thing that I really like is dried ginger.
Dried ginger?
Like not ginger with like the sugar in it, but I'll actually buy ginger from like Whole Foods or the grocery, the stuff that with the sugar on it.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into my hotel room and I'll get a plate. I'll rinse all the sugar off with warm water, set it out to dry, and then I eat that. So I'm not getting all the processed sugar.
Nice.
But then I'll dump that into something like Ambronite as something kind of like chunky to chew on as I eat. So that's the way I roll.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So what do you see in the future of food and the future of combining performance, both cognitive and physical performance, with food? What's exciting you in that space right now?
The marriage of ancestral living and biohacking. So what I mean by that is, let's use Ambronite as another example. You can take like a coconut or a palm oil, and you can centrifuge that and do an extraction of just the C8, the caprylic acid from it, which actually causes your brain to have access to tons and tons of ketones. That's not normally something we would find in nature. We couldn't just go like find a C8 fruit on a tree, right? But we can take that biohacked oil, and then we can mix it with like an ancestral based superfood powder like Ambronite, dump those two together, and all of a sudden you've got like biohacking and ancestry all rolled into one. And I love that kind of concept. And my wife will make fun of it sometimes. I'll take I'll take like sea salt from Aztec, and I'll take caprylic acid, and I'll take Ambronite, and I'll throw all these things that are a mix of like little biohacking foods and ancestral foods in a blender, blend that up and eat it. To me, that's better living through science combined with tapping into the exact type of things our ancestors would have eaten. Even though our ancestors didn't have a blender.
They didn't have the Vitamix back home.
They had a mortar and pestle, right?
Yeah.
We've just come a
Serving
little
the same
way
purpose,
since electricity. Yeah, so that's where I see food going. Just more and more people tapping into that idea that we can really supercharge the nutrients that are available in food, and then combine those with foods that are actually in their raw ancestral form in a very easy to access package format. So.
Yeah, it's amazing to see so many more people becoming connected to where the food comes from,
right.
and just being open to merging both of these worlds.
Right, exactly.
Ben, always a pleasure to talk to you. It's
dude. I hope you like almonds because you're about to go down.
this food fighting. Amazing.
And one for me.
One more.
Boom.
Boom.